Has anesthesia been
Is
alerted?
everyone ready? Nurses, prep for surgery.
Please move. Make way.
Blood pressure 60/34. GCS is 3-3, blood type O+.
Secure a blood transfusion line and get him to room A.
The Trauma Center series is back for its third appearance on the Wii, moving beyond mere surgery to encompass a variety of different medical specialties. Trauma Team features 6 different playable characters, each with their own unique discipline and distinct style of gameplay, ranging from slick surgery to frantic emergency care to methodical forensics. There are clever design elements across the board, offering both quality and variety. You can progress through the 6 storylines in any order you wish, and this freedom, along with the diminished difficulty, makes Trauma Team the most accessible game in the series. There are still some challenging levels and occasional frustrations, and though Trauma Team is lengthy and satisfying, it can definitely drag from time to time. Though no element is flawless, the game, like the ensemble cast, comes together well. This is the best, most entertaining experience the Trauma Center series has to offer, so even if its predecessors didn't suit your fancy, you should consider signing up for Trauma Team.
Hang in there.
The most familiar discipline here is surgery. The controls feature the same slick system as the other Trauma games. You select your tool with the analog stick and perform actions with the remote. While it is still entertaining and there are some new elements to contend with, surgery is nowhere near as challenging as it was in previous games. There are no supernatural abilities to contend with, only the story of an amnesiac prisoner called upon to perform high-risk surgeries in exchange for years off his sentence. Surgery is more streamlined in Trauma Team because it plays a supporting role instead of being the franchise player. While some may lament the change, the other disciplines round out the game so well that surgery ends up filling its niche quite nicely. Orthopedics is another invasive discipline, like surgery, but it plays out a little differently. Each tool is automatically selected, leaving you to cut, drill, or hammer according to the guide. During most actions, the camera moves automatically and the challenge is to keep up. Early on, this merely requires a steady hand, but in later procedures, the camera purposefully gets out of sync with the guideline, forcing you to constantly adjust to the seemingly erratic motions. This is initially aggravating, but once you get the hang of things, it becomes a reasonable challenge. Your success in every action is tracked with a chain meter. Higher chains mean better grades, and mistakes will reset the chain value. This gives Orthopedics a distinct feel, which is further accentuated by the passionate do-gooder Hank Freebird. His character gets a little goofy at times, but has an unrelenting optimism that is hard to dislike. Emergency care is handled by the fiery Maria Torres, a lady who loves to shout at people.
Tell me!
Her brash attitude is matched by the urgency of her specialty. With only a handful of tools at your disposal, emergency care feels like stripped-down surgery with one big wrinkle. You have to handle multiple patients at a time, and they are all losing health quickly. Switching between patients and administering treatment is an engagingly hectic challenge, though you can often find yourself forced to rely overmuch on the magical health-boosting stabilizer injection. Still, this is the most frantic action in Trauma Team, and successfully saving a bloody parade of accident victims is very satisfying. Endoscopy is definitely less hectic, but not without its challenges. The trick here is the controls. You have to pinch A and B and move the remote forward or backward, mimicking the motion of pushing or pulling the endoscope through your patient's innards. Steering and tool usage is all relegated to the nunchuck, and using the analog stick to move your scalpel definitely feels weird after growing accustomed to the remote. Though endoscopy is one of the more repetitive disciplines, the challenging controls ensure you never feel too comfortable. The young samurai doctor lady who wields the endoscope adds some interesting flavor to these episodes as she struggles to thrive away from her home.
The proof of this is on this card.
Diagnosis and Forensics offer the most divergent gameplay from the Trauma Center standard because they don't actually feature proper medical procedures. In Diagnosis, you talk with the patient, use a stethoscope, and run tests in order to identify symptoms. As the cranky diagnostician, you begrudgingly accept a computerized companion program, but not without a healthy share of cantankerous banter.
Does Assistant Secretary Tillman's operation weigh heavily on your mind?
Shut up! Using the computer, you attach symptoms to diseases and determine your diagnosis. Looking at actual CT scans and X-rays is cool, and getting symptoms out of reluctant patients requires some ingenuity. Forensics often requires even more ingenuity, and this gameplay is some of the most unique and clever that Trauma Team has to offer. As the icy Dr. Kimishima, you work with a helpful FBI lackey to investigate crime scenes, corpses, and audio recordings in order to collect evidence cards. By analyzing or combining these evidence cards in logical ways, you can further your investigation. This also requires that you answer multiple choice questions about the evidence at hand. Though these questions are often easy, some of them require you to make logical leaps. The way it all plays out is clever and enjoyable, and amusing answers will often make their way into your quizzes. Some questions are too vague or poorly worded for their own good, but you can make a healthy amount of mistakes before failing. Though they are both engaging, forensics and diagnosis have the tendency to drag on too long, forcing you to listen to too much dialogue and rehash old points. The story cutscenes also suffer from this problem, and skipping them isn't a great option. Taken individually, the doctors are at best mildly interesting, at worst cliché and weird. Yet the ensemble cast comes together well, and by the climactic conclusion, you'll likely feel some affection for each character.
Please, calm down, Dr. Torres.
We swore an oath to do no harm! Dr. Torres, calm down!
It takes a long time to get to the end, but there's a lot of quality gameplay to experience on the way, and the pacing issues don't slow things down too badly. Finishing the game unlocks a tougher difficulty level, as well as some character-specific challenges that offer new goals for challenge seekers and completionists. There are also cooperative modes for 4 out of the 6 disciplines, though surgery is definitely the best of the 2-player bunch. Trauma Team's diverse array of deep gameplay modes is tied together nicely with slick presentation across the board. Though each of the characters and activities has its own foibles, the whole comes together impressively, making Trauma Team a great bet no matter what your specialty is.